commence à en avoir marre. Donc, gagner, bon, ça s'est pas vu avec le maillot champion de France, dommage. Comme j'étais en GABA, mais gagner avec l'équipe, voilà, il a fallu un peu d'adaptation avec le changement d'équipe. Et au fil des étapes, je m'améliorais et on s'améliorait. Voilà, on est l'équipe type du Tour de France, donc on s'améliorait sur le tour, un peu la communication et les automatismes. Et déjà hier, ça s'est vu. Kevin sacrifie encore pour moi aujourd'hui. Toute l'équipe à 200% et demain, ce sera pareil. Je ferai 300% pour Kevin pour qu'il aille chercher le podium. Mais c'est comme ça que ça marche et qu'on gagne.
There's a look at all of the stage winners so far. One last stage remains. This is the route for the riders starting and finishing in Nice. No Promenade d'Anglais this year due to the elections. Start outside the Allianz Stadium, the home of Nice Football Club, who had a pretty successful night yesterday when they were facing Brest. Ineos Grenadiers with a big task ahead of them to try and win the stage. This is the route, a stage of 129.2 kilometres, 2,300 metres of elevation as they pass by 3 Category 1 King of the Mountains, the Col de la Porte, the Côte de Châteauneuf and the Côte de Linguador. The intermediate sprint at Nice, pretty late on, only 7.4 kilometres to go until the finish line, which finishes right outside the Allianz Stadium. There's the profile for the riders with that tricky descent when they crest the final categorised climb with 18.5 kilometres to go. Brilliant cycling destination, Nice. It's the capital of the French Riviera. It's the 5th largest city in France with 350,000 inhabitants. The country's second leading tourist hub with over 5 million visitors per year. It's actually home to France's second largest airport, more than 14 million annual passengers. These were the scenes from earlier on when the race departed for the neutralised section at 13:25. They had a couple of kilometres neutralised. The beautiful thing about today's stage, the riders were able to take a look at the run into the finish line, particularly those who've got their eyes firmly set on taking the stage victory. They will pass in the opposite direction to the way they started. And brilliant to say, the weather conditions have significantly improved in comparison to 24 hours ago and what was forecast throughout the week, because it wasn't set to be brilliant weather conditions for this final stage, stage 8 of Paris-Nice. 17 degrees, wind, north-northeasterly wind, 22 kilometres per hour, gusts of 44 kilometres per hour. And the rain should hold off until the late afternoon. 66.7 kilometres to go. Marc Soler trails by 40 seconds to Valentin Parapantra of Soudal Quickstep, the young Frenchman, stage winner in the Tour de France at the top of Mont Ventoux. The 25-year-old has flown the nest and made this incredibly difficult. And Soudal Quickstep currently without a stage victory here in Paris-Nice, and they wanted to try and put that to right on the final stage. Meanwhile, Marc Soler, who is 6th in the general classification, 8 minutes and 15 seconds down on Jonas Vingegaard, is trying to go for the stage win. He's no major threat in the general classification. However, Visma Leasebike can't take the risk. They trail by 1 minute and 15 seconds to Valentin Parapantra. They want to make sure that they can keep Marc Soler under control as best as possible. The problem is, for Visma Leasebike, they've already lost Axel Zangler pretty early on, as well as Eduardo Affini. They do have Bruno Amarai, Victor Campenaerts, along with Jonas Vingegaard, who you can see is sitting in second wheel. Danny Martinez up towards the front, as is Kevin Vokula, and a couple of other riders from the Ineos Grenadiers. Well, get yourselves comfortable for the final stage. It's looking pretty good for Jonas Vingegaard to be crowned the champion of Paris-Nice, the 84th edition. However, We know on this final stage, it's incredibly difficult. It's happened in the past where the yellow jersey has changed shoulders at the very last moment. So nothing is certain, nothing is a given. And Visma Leasabike are going to fight tooth and nail for this one. This man's going to fight tooth and nail for a stage victory. His ambitions of the general classification went out the window pretty early on. And he's wanting to try and turn things around, which is brilliant to see that he's putting his good form to good use. And Soudal Quickstep could do with a little bit of a pick-me-up. Dorian Gordon, the leader in the green jersey, is at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Number of riders didn't take to the start this morning, including Caseball and Callum Scottson, teammates of Nicola Prodom. Other riders not taken to the start: Guillaume Boivin, the Canadian rider, the 36-year-old for NSN cycling team. Ewan Costu of Groupama FDJ United. Alex Kirsch of Cofidis, the Luxembourgish rider, not finishing Paris-Nice, as well as Joshua Giddings of Intermarché Lotto. Wilco Kelderman, Bruno Armarai, and Victor Campenaerts, all with Jonas Vingegaard in that yellow jersey. Dorian Gordon is chasing back on. He's 45 seconds behind the peloton. He's got the convoy, and he's still in the convoy. The man from the Ineos Grenadiers, the French champion, winning yesterday's stage. And he's fighting to come back. Can see how the peloton has been significantly reduced already due to the elevation, the climbs that the peloton and the race has passed over so far. Not an easy stage to finish with at all. It's always punchy, it's always electric, particularly with some of the difficult descents, the narrow descents, and the technical nature of this final stage. Nobody really wanting to take the risks, and so the pace is always on. It's always quite a nervous final stage. It's certainly not a stage which is a procession. You can't rest on your laurels, and you can see that Visma Leasabike wanted to make sure that Jonas Vingegaard is well equipped with teammates. About 25 kilometres ago, it was UAE Team Emirates XRG who were pulling in the peloton because they wanted to make sure they could try and set up Marc Soler. Just to give you the overview of how the stage unfolded, it was a very fast start. Kevin Vauquelin of the Ineos Grenadiers had a mechanical with 120 kilometres to go. He was brought back. Movistar and Decathlon CMA CGM were controlling the peloton. They were pulling because a number of riders had gone up the road. A couple of those were sprinters actually, and so there were no major threat. Fabio van den Bossche went in the breakaway with Valentin Parapantra just to try and launch him up the road and help him try and get as much of an advantage as possible. Other riders were there, including Jefferson Cepeda of Movistar. He's since been distanced. Marc Soler was there. He's been dropped by this exceptionally talented French climber. Visma Leasabike started to pull. The peloton had split in half. They came together with 82 kilometres to go. 81 kilometres remaining. This was when Valentin Parapantra went on his own. Marc Soler was left chasing. Meanwhile, Will Barter of Tudor Pro Cycling and Jefferson Cepeda, as well as Nicola Prodom, they were all caught by the peloton. There was only around 30 riders remaining at that point. They went over the top of the first categorized climb of the day. That was the category 1 climb, the Col de la Porte. It was Valentin Parapantra who took the 10 points in the classification. Marc Soler taking the 5. Jonas Vingegaard taking the 3, which puts him on to 29 points in that classification. Bruno Amarai picking up the 2 points, with Victor Campenaerts taking the 1 point. That categorized climb, they crested with 78.5 kilometers remaining. They went down the other side of that descent. It was a 14-kilometer descent, very technical, very tricky. It was fast, tree covered. You had to really make sure that you were well positioned and you were cautious as well. That brings the race to this point inside the final 60 kilometers. This is the situation. Valentin Parapantra has 42 seconds on Marc Soler. The peloton at 1 minute and 17 seconds. The peloton made up of what is left of it. Mathieu Vacher, Matthias Lebert, 2 riders from Total Energy. Andreas Leknesson, the Norwegian road race champion for Uno X Mobility. Mathis Rondel, the 22-year-old Frenchman, who sits 8th overall in the general classification. Nicholas Vinokurov is there with Harold Tejada for XDS Astana. Harold Tejada already a stage winner on day 6. Rudy Mollard, the only rider represented for Groupama FDJ United. Damiano Caruso is there with Lenny Martinez, both riders for Bahrain Victorious. Igor Arrieta and Ivo Oliveira are still there for UAE Team Emirates XRG. Carlos Rodriguez is supporting Kevin Vauquelin for the Ineos Grenadiers. Danny Martinez is isolated. Whilst, as I said before, Bruno Amarai, Victor Campenaerts and Wilco Kelderman are there with Jonas Vingegaard. One more rider has come back to Danny Martinez. That looks as though it's Alexander Vlasov as well as Mick van Dijk. There is Danny Martinez, number 11 in that white jersey for the Ineos Grenadiers. One more rider has come back. 2 more riders have come back, actually. Number 25, and that is Joshua Tarling. Just in front of him is Michał Kwiatkowski. Number 26, that's Kevin Vauquelin, who they are protecting. Also got Carlos Rodriguez there. So that is the situation on the road. It's been pretty rapid, to be honest. The average speed, when you factor in the climbs, 41.3 kilometers per hour. Valentin Parapantra trying to get himself as low and as aerodynamic as possible. You can see he's got all of his gel wrappers in his back pocket, making sure that he's keeping on top of his fueling strategy and making sure that he's constantly taking sips of fluids, taking gels, a little bite to eat, just to make sure that he doesn't start to bonk at a crucial moment in the race. And whilst it's a short stage, only 129.2 kilometers long, it's a really hard, punchy stage. 2,300 meters of elevation is no mean feat, particularly when the speed is high, you're up and down. You've also got to keep your concentration for the descents. And that final descent down into Nice, the riders have got to be really wary. And the next categorized climb of the day, over the top of the Côte de Châteauneuf, VAVA, that comes with 46 kilometers to go. And down the other side is really tricky in the forest. The final descent, you've got to have your brain switched on. You've got to have energy and resources, and you want to make sure you're fully focused for that final. at the start this morning, Valentin Parapantra and the whole squad at Soudal Quickstep seem really, really relaxed. This is Lorenzo Malesi, the 23-year-old Italian rider for Movistar, who's coming back. Great ride from Malesi. You can see one of his teammates sitting right at the back of that group. That's Jefferson Cepeda, the Ecuadorian, the 30-year-old. He's been on the move already today. He's been trying to get into that breakaway. Didn't quite manage to get there. However, we know he's in really good form, actually, Jefferson Cepeda. Malesi comes back then with 55 kilometres to go. The gap to the breakaway, the sole rider up front, is now below the minute marker. Jefferson Cepeda just offering up a word to Lorenzo Malesi. And look at this, he'll immediately take a gel, take on some carbohydrates, just replenish what he's lost over the last 70 kilometres or so. Rider's looking at around 120 to 140 grams of carbohydrate per hour, and so you've really got to train yourself, but it's also important that you make sure that you take on these gels and the carbohydrates, especially when there's so much fatigue around the peloton as well. It's been such a hard, fast Paris-Nice. This edition has not relented. They only had one day where it was relatively slow. That was stage 2, where the average speed was around 38-39 kilometers per hour, but the final 40 kilometers or so was absolutely rapid, not least because Dan Holer, the Dutch time trial champion, had made a move off the front. He became a real threat for the sprinters, and so there hasn't been a day where these riders have been able to switch off, and in particular stage 4 with those weather conditions, which was so difficult, so tough. It took a lot out of the riders. Nick van Dijk back at the team car, just dropping off some clothing. You can really feel the warmth. Around 17 degrees, 18 degrees here, very little wind at the finish line. Pretty humid, actually. Marc Soler's chase to Valentin Parapantra is nearing its end. Ineos Grenadiers moving forward with Michał Kwiatkowski. Will Barter's there with Matthias Rondel. Great to see Will Barter slot straight into his new team at Tudor Pro Cycling in those colours of the Swiss squad, in the black jerseys. He's really found a great home, and it's brilliant to see for the American after a number of years with Movistar. It's great to see that he's been able to bring all of that experience that he's learned over the years and bring it to the young Frenchman, the 22-year-old, who is feeling good. And despite being 22 years of age, Matthias Rondel is an excellent talent, and he believes that he can do something today. Tudor Pro Cycling believe that he can do something, and so the fact that he's got Will Barter, now 30 years of age, alongside him just to protect him, look after him, guide him through the final 50 kilometres. Valentin Parapantra is on to the penultimate categorised climb of the day. This is the Côte de Châteauneuf, a climb of 6.6 kilometres, average gradient of 6.6%, with gradients pretty steep at the beginning, 10%, 11%, maximum of 12%. It starts to flatten off ever so slightly towards the top of the climb. That's only around 2%, 3%. That comes with 47.5 kilometres to go. They get a little bit of respite, but meanwhile the rest of the climb is pretty consistent, around 7-8%. So You can see the way that the Ineos Grenadiers want to move forward. Joshua Tarling on the front now, the strong Welshman. Meanwhile, Michał Kwiatkowski, he pulls off. Takes a look around just to make sure that Kevin Vokala is okay. Georg Steinhauser is in this group as well. You can just see the white jersey moving up on the far left-hand side. He wants to make sure that he's not too far away from Kevin Vokala because he's the main threat to Georg Steinhauser. Drop now is Ivo Oliveira, the Portuguese road race champion, as well as Lorenzo Malesi, also being distance. That was a former Danish road race champion, Kasper Askren, in the pink jersey. So Georg Steinhauser is isolated, being distanced here, number 16, birthday boy, Mick van Dijk. Very happy birthday to Mick van Dijk. 3 birthdays in the peloton today. Artur Lucas, and one rider there of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe with an issue on the right-hand side. What is this? What has happened here? Oh my dearie me. One rider down. Oh dear me. This is Danny Martinez of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Mick van Dijk stops alongside his teammate. He's gone off the road where you can see the pavement. He starts to move up here. Oh dear me. A collision with his teammate. Oh my word. Absolute disaster for Danny Martinez of Red Bull Bora. Oh, dear me, at the worst possible moment. A little touch of the shoulders, and this is absolute disaster for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. The second place in the general classification belonging to the Colombian. He's at 3:22, and he's down, and he's not looking in a good way there. A coming together with his teammate Laurens Pitty just swinging to the right-hand side whilst Danny Martinez was moving round, and he's going to get back on his bike. Visibly in pain, Sven Van Tornhout giving the Colombian a good push. This is not how the final stage should have gone for Martinez. Mick van Dijk is with him, Laurens Pitty is with him. This is going to be a really, really hard chase now for Martinez. Absolute disaster. Look at how the group is starting to be completely decimated right now. Laurens Pitty is with Danny Martinez. Mick van Dijk, having been distanced, is there to try and look after the Colombian now. Oh, my word. Leknesund has been distanced from that group, as has Bashir. Carlos Rodriguez looks as though he's been distanced. Meanwhile, this is the rider from Pinarello Q36.5. This is the former Canadian road race champion, Nick Sukowski, the 27-year-old in that navy blue jersey, number 187. Around 8 more hairpins for the riders to take on before they crest the top of this categorised climb. And look at the time that Danny Martinez has lost now. Laurens Pitty passes him the sunglasses. 1:53 to Valentin Parapantra. Almost a minute and a half down on Jonas Vingegaard and Georg Steinhauser, the 2 jersey leaders in what is left of the peloton. Alex Bourdin still there with Georg Steinhauser in that pink jersey. Lenny Martinez just on the wheel of the young German. Seven riders trying to chase back to what's left of the peloton. Two more riders behind that. There's going to be riders all over the parkour today. Looking really good, isn't he, Valentin Parapantra? Onto these steeper gradients, you can start to see a little grimace on his face. He's always got quite a laboured looking style. A little bit of rocking and rolling. Meanwhile, Marc Soler is being distanced out of that group after his efforts trying to break away. To run down the top 10 in the general classification, Jonas Vingegaard leads 3:22 ahead of Dani Martinez. In third place sits Georg Steinhauser at 5 minutes and 50. Kevin Vauquelin at 6 minutes and 9 seconds. Lenny Martinez at 7 minutes and 37 seconds. In sixth place is Marc Soler at 8:15. Meanwhile, in seventh place, that is occupied by Jon Izagirre at 9:02. Not seen too much of Jon Izagirre. In eighth place is Matthias Rondel at 10 minutes and 6 seconds. In ninth place, that is occupied by Alex Bourdin, 10 minutes and 16. And Harold Tejada is in the top 10, 10th place at 11:27. Yesterday after the stage, if you joined, you would have seen that Harold Tejada was not in the general classification standings. He did indeed crash within that 3 kilometre sprint rule. He was awarded the same time as the group that he was in, and so he's back in the top 10 at 11:27. And he's a rider who knows this stage very well. 11th place last year for the Colombian for XDS Astana. Let's see what he can do today. Alexander Vlasov has dropped back for Dani Martinez. Lorenzo Malesi is there, as is Ivo Oliveira. He's only losing time, 2:07 now for Dani Martinez of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. And this would mean he's losing time to Steinhauser, who at the moment is looking to leapfrog Dani Martinez after that incident, and will move up into second place. Attacking this climb, he knows that he's only got a little less than 30 seconds in hand, and so Valentin Parapantra, the rider who took his first professional victory at the Giro d'Italia, His third pro victory came in the Tour de France last year when he won at the top of Mont Ventoux. He's looking to try and win his first Paris-Nice stage. Can he try and make it 2 French winners in 2 days? Certainly the big ambition for Soudal Quick-Step. Soudal Quick-Step this season, they've had 4 victories so far. They haven't had a World Tour victory yet. Around 16 riders remain in this group. Nicholas Vinokourov is still there with Harold Tejada. Joshua Tarling, he's done his job. Meanwhile, one of the riders from Decathlon CMA CGM comes back into this group. The problem is for Danny Martinez, once he gets over the top of this classified climb, he's going to have a tricky descent down the other side. He'll go into an unclassified climb, but a climb nonetheless. And there isn't much valley road for the riders today at all to really just pick up the speed. And so when you're traveling, you can see the speeds there. The head of the race at 28 kilometers per hour for Valentin Parapantra, the Maya Jean group at 25 kilometers per hour, and Danny Martinez, okay, if you give or take, and they're all on the same one, similar types of gradient, 6%, 7%, at 18 kilometers per hour. And the way that Danny Martinez fell, I think he's suffering a lot with those injuries. I'm not surprised, really. Bruno Amarai on the front, the man from the Pyrenees for Visma Lease Bike. In his first race with his new team, Visma Lease Bike, in those colours. What a week it's been for Bruno Amarai. First race, first chance to try and defend a yellow jersey for his leader. He's holding on well, isn't he? Valentin Parapantra. Only 600 metres before he'll crest the top of this Category 1 climb. You can just see the little white device under the skin suit on the little core body temperature device. Something that you can't look at in real time, but it's really important to make sure that the riders are keeping their core body temperature as low and as cool as possible. Once you start to overheat, that's when your performance starts to drop, and you can see they've got that device. It's something that they can assess and take a look at all of the data with their coaches once they upload their racing file from their head unit. Plenty of different ways to make sure that you can keep your core body temperature as low as possible. Even simply water over the head, try and cool yourself down, in particular once you go down a descent. all sorts of other ways, but a real useful tool in the last 6 years or so. Over the top of the Côte de Châteauneuf for Valentin Parapantra. He takes another 10 points in the classification with an advantage of 30 seconds over the yellow and white jersey. Valentin Parapantra is looking for another victory in his professional career. Jonas Vingegaard comes over the line. He takes the 5 points in the King of the Mountains competition. He wants to make sure that Valentin Parapantra isn't able to take that jersey off him. And Jonas Vingegaard should have just secured that jersey now. I put his points tally on 34, whilst Valentin Parapantra, whilst he's taken 20 points today, he's not going to be able to overthrow Jonas Vingegaard. Put Valentin Parapantra's tally on 27 points thus far. However, let's keep a close eye on that final climb that comes with 18.5 kilometers to go. Martinez has two teammates with him, Alexander Vlasov, Lawrence Pitty, Joshua Tarling sitting on the wheel, as is the rider from Total Energy, the wildcard French team, Mathis Lebert. Bringing this gap down, but not quick enough. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe crest the top of the penultimate categorized climb of the day, the Côte de Châteauneuf. Lawrence Pitty, Alexander Vlasov, Danny Martinez, after a crash on the climb, is fighting back on, but he trails by almost 2 minutes. Fast wide road for Valentin Parapantra. Starts to get a little bit more difficult and tricky with 42 kilometers to go. That's where he'll take on a tight left-hand hairpin. Once again, the road starts to open up all the way down until he'll get to 40.3 kilometers to go. There's a very sharp right-hand turn, a little bit of danger, a little bit of a narrowing before he traverses his way through several narrow sections through the forest. The first of those coming with 39.1 kilometers to go. The next with 38.8 kilometers to go. Another one 200 meters later, followed by a double chicane with 37 kilometers remaining. Ooh. Talk about use the whole road. This is the difficulty now. He's just gone through 2 patches of standing water back onto dry roads, but sometimes that can, and he's still descending as if it's a completely dry descent. The tyres got that little bit of moisture on them. Let's hope, not just for Valentin Parapantra, but the other riders too, that doesn't have any effect. Can be quite difficult. You descend as if you've got completely dry tyres, dry roads. You still bank the bike in on the turns, the corners. Bruno Amarai just making sure that Jonas Vingegaard doesn't have to take any big risks. I was speaking to the sports directors earlier this morning, actually, at the start, and Mark Rafe and Frans Maassen just saying we don't need to take these risks. We don't need to necessarily go for the stage victory. If there's an opportunity to take the stage victory, of course, we'll be there to try and fight for it. But the most important thing is Jonas Vingegaard arrives into Nice safely with the yellow jersey secured, and he can take his first overall victory in Paris-Nice, and the team can make it a third overall victory in a row. And so they, first and foremost, want to make sure that Vingegaard is safe. There's the results of the Côte du Châteauneuf, the Category 1 climb. Valentin Parapancha taking the 10 points. That means he's got 27 points in that classification. Jonas Vingegaard taking the 5. I make that 34 points in total, with Bruno Marai taking the 3 points there. A good little bit of teamwork between Visma Leasebike to make sure that Jonas Vingegaard could take as many points as possible. The 2 points going to Soler, 1 point to Victor Campenaerts. Talk about close call. Oh, go easy, Valentin. Don't throw it all away. MotoGP will be calling soon, the way he's cornering. .28 seconds for Valentin Parapancha, 1:49 to the group of Danny Martinez. They're starting to make some inroads. The thing is, on the descent, you can only go so fast. You can't go that much quicker than the group is chasing. So the only real opportunity that they can claw back some time is now that they're going through this village here into Tourette-Levant. Get onto the unclassified climb as they make their way to Bois de Corteo. That's where he might be able to gain some time. Let's keep a close eye on Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. If you're just joining, welcome along to the 8th and final stage of Paris in its 84th edition, starting and finishing in Nice. It was a very active start. Several riders got themselves into the breakaway, including Will Barter, Jefferson Cepeda, Valentin Parapancha and Marc Soler. Things started to fragment. Movistar, as they had their man on the front, they stopped pulling on at the front of the peloton. Decathlon, CMA, CGM, they were pulling at one point, but then they had Nicola Prodom in the breakaway, so they sat up. It's been UAE member at XRJ and Visma Leasebike who have been on the front controlling. Marc Soler, when he was in pursuit of Valentin Parapancha, the sole rider out front, Visma Leasebike have been put to work to make sure that their man Jonas Vingegaard, who's got the yellow jersey on his shoulders, with an advantage of 3 minutes and 22 seconds on second place Danny Martinez. And he can indeed make sure he goes home with that jersey on his shoulders. Kevin Vauquelin, he believes that he can gain back the seconds and get onto the podium. He's only 19 seconds off the podium at the moment. Georg Steinhauser knows that he's the biggest challenger, and you can see the white jersey sitting on the wheel of Kevin Vauquelin. Very early on the Côte de Châteauneuf, the Category 1 climb, Danny Martinez, whilst he came around on the right-hand side of his teammate Lawrence Pitty, and Pitty moved to the right-hand side to swing out of the line to look where Martinez was. There was a collision that knocked Danny Martinez to the floor. He was pretty hurt and looked a little bit in shock. He's back on his bike. He had Mick van Dijk and Lawrence Pitty with him. Alexander Vlasov has dropped out of the front group to come back for the Colombian. He trails by 1 minute and 40 seconds now. They're not making the inroads that they desperately need to make, and they're not making them quick enough. My name's Hannah Walker. Welcome along. Feel free to get in touch with me. Let me know what your favourite moment in the race has been over the past 8 days. At Spanner Walker on social media, SPA-NNA Walker. Let me know what you've enjoyed the most, what your favourite victory has been, what's been your highlight of Paris-Nice so far. I'd love to know. Three birthdays in the peloton of Lucas, the Luxembourgish champion Mick van Dijk and Casper Pedersen. Wishing them many happy returns. Bruno Amaral, Jonas Vingegaard, Victor Campenaerts, Kevin Vauquelin, Carlos Rodriguez, Georg Steinhauser, Alex Bourdin, Lenny Martinez, Marc Soler, Mathis Rondel, as well as Will Barter, Jonas Aguirre, as well as Nicola Prodhomme, Rudy Mallard, Ramses de Bruyne, all in that group. Six riders didn't take to the start this morning. Guillaume Boivin, Case Ball, Callum Scottson, Alex Kirsch, Ewan Kostu, as well as one other rider. Joshua Giddings was the final. One minute and 15 seconds, Danny Martinez trails by so far. Look at the shift that Lawrence Pitty, the rider from New Zealand, is putting in here. Alexander Vlasov talking into the radio here. He needs the team car to come forward as soon as possible. They also have one rider from Total Energies with them. That's Mathis Lebert, who's still there, number 196. It's a hot day out there. 17, 18 degrees here in Nice, and the race to the sun has finally arrived after such a miserable, torrid day yesterday. The final bit of this uncategorized climb before Valentin Parapantra will go down the other side. Several hairpins to go through the forest. Pretty steep inside the final 30 kilometers. And this is why you start to see riders moving forward. Georg Steinhauser making sure that he is as close as possible to Kevin Vauquelin. He's got a pink helmet on, the white jersey. He's number 165. still got Alex Bourdin on his wheel. He's the rider in the full pink jersey. Jonas Aguirre is isolated. Lenny Martinez has still got Damiano Caruso with him. No finish on the Promenade d'Anglais this year, if you're wondering why, due to the elections. And as Valentin Parapancha flies down the other side here, he's already had a couple of little hairy moments. He's willing to take the risk, and look at the reception as he passes through the village here. He uses the full width of the road, accelerating out of the corners, clicking through the gears. 11 seconds is the advantage over the yellow and white jersey. Just to let you know, the municipal elections taking place this weekend in France, Paris. Of course, Paris moving away from this traditional finish line on the Promenade d'Anglais. We'll finish outside the Allianz.
Leonardo, welcome. Napajid matsaho. Mo, lami at naimicharesha Paranis stage 8. Nibinam sama ad outdugin harimala na 50 lead 1 minute and 22 kali. Oh, they are skidahan. Mriain at Malik to Boawat you even not dated some Bohanet, some Bohon Magnet uphill do Daniru. Terry Agabet you. Then Zodi Gela Aineti Matinarello. I've century demons or demons in Arello. But I'm an itemali while up to interview to some on to the village so to weather Cop Yeruham Umkhanu was amazing. Lomaka the sprinters to Sama ad or did a Hadimala Urumba. Anyway, Ganasa should distant تقلمت وجه تعرفنا لو سلازي الجونا توينو خمسة عينة عوات منصور تعني تستبل موسكي نكتاتلا.
It's perhaps in his words, he believes he's a better climber. That being said, he gains so much confidence. On the fifth stage, the fact that he was at stage 4 actually, the fact that Steinhauser was able to match some of the best climbers in the world and resist their attacks. Charlo Agalia and Andreas clearing the team car for e-education East Coast. So much experience between those two sports directors to try and help guide Dale Steinhauser, keep him calm, collected. Also give him that motivation. Alex Bourdin, a brilliant lieutenant to him as well. He's resisting this chase from Vismalista bike, isn't he, Valentin Parapantra? Andreas Leknesund, former wearer of the Maglia Rosa in the Giro d'Italia back in 2023. Managing to come back. He was dropped earlier on the Norwegian Road Race Champion, number 171, but he's managed to come back. Unox Mobility down to 4 riders. However, he's isolated in this front group here, or this front part of the peloton at least. Inside 30 kilometers to go on stage 8 of Paris-Nice. Valentin Parapincha has 4 seconds on the chasers. Visma Lisa Bike are going to be able to see the 25-year-old French youngster right ahead of them. The pursuit being led by Bruno Amarai, the yellow jersey on the shoulders of Jonas Vingegaard, sitting in second wheel, with Victor Campenaerts still alongside him, with Kevin Vauquelin being looked after by Carlos Rodriguez. Danny Martinez holding that gap at 1 minute and 15 seconds. The Soigneurs arrive at the finish line, getting themselves ready with their bottles, the recovery shakes. Team managers arriving as well. Ooh. Lawrence Pitty leading things down with Alexander Vlasov on his wheel. Danny Martinez and Matthias Lebert. I'm just looking ahead to where they could potentially gain back time. Once they get to the bottom of this descent with 25.5 kilometers to go, they've got 3 or 4 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers before they'll reach the base of the final categorized climb of the day. And it's a short but steep climb. The climb itself, 3.3 kilometers long, average gradient of 8.8%, maximum gradients of 14%. Once they crest the top of that climb with 18.5 kilometers to go, they'll get to the bottom of the descent with 13.5 kilometers to go. And there isn't that much time to try and close the deficit. And so Red Bull Hansgrohe, they can't take the foot off the gas. And they just have to hope that maybe things let up on the ascent, but I just don't see it myself. Andreas Leknesson not having a good time of it on this descent, losing the wheels as he did on the previous major descent with 78.5 kilometers to go.
Forza BINI, forza. Aggiorna.
Parapincha descending like a rock, and even giving autopilot a bit of a tough time of keeping the pace on this twisty descent. You've got to have the skills, you've got to have those abilities. Stay with the wheels, stay in the wheels, stay with the riders. Chris Luckness hasn't been having a good time of it. Jefferson's a Pader at the back of this group.
لو دي تخالتن كنا إذا الأسرع شدشتن الله anyway بر تعالى
out of Lemula. Valentin Parapantra braking late, using the whole width of the road once again, accelerating out of these turns. He is resisting them, isn't he? This is so impressive. The fact that he's not been phased, that Visma Lease bike are in single digits, only 7 seconds of an advantage to the 25-year-old Frenchman, and he knows that he can't give up. All he's thinking about is if they let up, if they take their foot off the gas, if they believe it's all under control, he can gain a little bit more time. And Valentin Parapantra, the fact that he's being so bold, so brave, he's making them work hard for it as well. Visma Lease bike not necessarily going for the stage victory, however, but wanting to make sure that they secure that yellow jersey on the shoulders of Jonas Vingegaard, and they want to make sure that they can keep the pace to try and deter any attacks from their rivals. This kind of terrain, not good news for Valentin Parapantra. However, good news for Danny Martinez. This is the section of the course where they'll make their way down to the roundabout, the other side of the road, before making the right-hand turn. That's where they'll get to the base of the final climb of the day, and then they'll go over the top of the Côte de Linguador. With 18.5 kilometres to go down the other side, the gradients are pretty vicious on that final climb of the day. And now finally, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe have got the cars in their side. They've got what is left of the convoy. 23.3 kilometres to go. Valentin Parapantra is caught by his compatriot Bruno Amarai. And the 25-year-old Frenchman of Soudal Quickstep put up a brilliant fight to try and go for the stage victory. "51 seconds for the group of Danny Martinez, Lawrence Pitty, Alexander Vlasov, as they try and come back from that crash of the Colombian. It has to give them confidence at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, and Sven Van Torenhout is going to be on the radio constantly, giving them that motivation, giving them the updated time gaps. You can see the team car moves forward now. Visma Lease bike are going to have a clear view as to where Danny Martinez currently is. Visma Lease bike heading into a headwind currently. Then they'll make that right-hand turn to the base of the climb, up through Vallon de Donario. Few hairpins to contend with over the top. I'll go back down the descent. They've just pinned down that tricky descent. Back down that main road. Make their way into Nice, where the intermediate sprint comes. The final categorised climb of the 84th edition of Paris, the Côte de Linguador, 3.3 kilometres long, 8.8% average, audience at 14%. Victor Campenaerts takes over at the front in low jersey. Georg Steinhauser moving forward in white. Damiano Caruso there with Lenny Martinez. Whilst Kevin Vokela moves into second wheel in that orange jersey for the Ineos Grenadiers. Done for the day. This is Igor Arriata. Valentin Parapantra, after his pursuit of a stage victory, is now distanced on these steep gradients. Now Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe arrive at the bottom of the Côte de Linguador. They trail by 45 seconds. They're wanting to make sure that the Colombian doesn't lose his second place in the general classification. It's got 2 minutes and 28 seconds in hand over Georg Steinhauser. Steinhauser at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Right now, the second place is secure. Meanwhile, Victor Campenaerts turns it up a notch, looks over his left-hand shoulder, and Jonas Vingegaard wants to be on the wheel of his teammate, Lenny Martinez, following the two-time Tour de France champion in that navy blue jersey. Things starting to get really tense now. XDS Astana still there with 3 riders. 2 of those to support Harold Tejada. The other one being Nicholas Vinokurov, who knows these roads well. Starting to be distanced now, whilst Andreas Leknesund has come back. He's now been distanced from this group. Number 65, this is Rudy Moller, who is being distanced. Ramses de Bruyne being ejected out of the back, as is Movistar's Jefferson Cepeda. Nicola Prodom finding himself in difficulty for Decathlon CMA CGM. Also Alex Bourdin, as well as Jon Izagirre. One of the riders there for XDS Astana fighting Victor Campenaerts with a big acceleration. Now it's launch time. The yellow jersey turns the screw and Lenny Martinez is able to follow Jonas Vingegaard. The Dane going in pursuit of his first title at Paris-Nice. And it's the Frenchman Lenny Martinez who's able to follow Vingegaard. They go into these steep gradients through the left-hand hairpin and they're leaving their rivals behind. Tejada responds. Steinhauser is with Kevin Vokela. Meanwhile, Matthias Rondel can't respond. But look at this from Lenny Martinez. Day after day, he's been getting better and better and better, and he's matching Jonas Vingegaard. Such is the speed. The horns are being tooted and they need to move the cars up the road because Jonas Vingegaard and Lenny Martinez are on a mission. The gradients are going to start to ramp up once again. From 8%, they'll start to reach 12%. The fans roar for Lenny Martinez. Could it be 2 French victories on the final weekend of Paris-Nice? Will the French fans even allow themselves to believe that at this moment? Vingegaard clicks through the gears out of the saddle. 9% gradients, and Lenny Martinez is right at home here on these types of gradients. Vingegaard makes another big acceleration. He wants to try and get rid of Martinez of barring victorious, but the 22-year-old can respond. 20 kilometers to go on stage 8 of Paris-Nice. Only 1.5 kilometers from the top of the final categorized climb of the day. Jonas Vingegaard and Lenny Martinez have an advantage of 15 seconds over the 4 chasers. Georg Steinhauser, Kevin Vogler, Matthias Rondal and Harold Tejada. Meanwhile, several of their rivals have been distanced, including Jonas Aguirre and others. "19 seconds now to the white jersey. Georg Steinhauser, the man from Bavaria. His main objective of the day is to go home with that white jersey on his shoulders, and he just has to make sure that he keeps a close eye on Kevin Vogler. He wants to make sure that he protects 3rd place in the general classification. Jonas Aguirre has come back to the group of Tejada, Rondel, Vogler and Steinhauser. Alex Bourdin has come back for Georg Steinhauser too, and the Frenchman from Aix-les-Bains has put himself right on the front to try and limit the losses here for the white jersey. Steinhauser, the only rider with a teammate. Even time for a high five for the fans. The passion is something to behold. He looks so comfortable, doesn't he? Look at the way that he's just taking a look around, taking it all in, soaking up the atmosphere, looking comfortable, and it's brilliant to see Lenny Martinez like this. He got caught out on the 4th stage when the echelons formed. He was caught out, called in the 2nd group, lost time, but he fought and fought and fought, and he's just been chipping away in the general classification. Lenny Martinez at 7:37 in 5th place. He's got a way to go to try and catch Kevin Vogler, who's at 6 minutes and 9 seconds. It's quite a gap to have to make up. Well, never say never. Matthias Rondel following the accelerations that are now being made by Kevin Vogler. Jonas Aguirre at the back here, number 134, stage winner in the Vuelta a España, and looking for an excellent top 10 finish in the general classification for Cofidis. Over the top of the final categorized climb of the day, the Côte de Linguador, it's Jonas Vingegaard who takes the 10 points, with Lenny Martinez taking the 5. Jonas Vingegaard secures the polka dot jersey and will go on to win the King of the Mountains competition here in the 84th edition of Paris-Nice. Meanwhile, Danny Martinez trails by 1 minute and 29 seconds to the yellow jersey and Lenny Martinez. Tejada, Steinhauser, Rondel, Vokela, Boda, and Izagirre trail by 33 seconds. They've got this tough descender. They've already descended once so far today, and they'll know it well from previous editions of Paris-Nice, and particularly those who live close to this area, whether it be Monaco, Nice, Antibes or otherwise. They'll know just how technical this descent is. Martinez, an excellent descender. Jonas Vingegaard having to accelerate out of the corners, but he doesn't want to take any risk on these descents. Andreas Leknesson is going to be caught by Alexander Vlasov. They go over the top of the King of the Mountain now. Lenny Martinez comes from just down the road in Cannes. He lives in Andorra now, but not too far away from Nice at all. You can see a little bit of standing water that just leaves a little bit of a tire mark. Jonas Vingegaard not wanting to push things. Takes a lot of speed, has to shave a lot of speed off there, Lenny Martinez, as he just got that left-hand corner wrong. Lenny Martinez already a stage winner in Paris-Nice a year ago. He won stage 5 in a very steep uphill finish. All these victories have come when it's a mountaintop finish, a hilltop finish. He has to believe that he can try and beat Jonas Vingegaard into this finish. 30 seconds now for the two leaders out front, being chased down by the 5 riders. Georg Steinhauser now wanting to make sure, 6 riders in total, wanting to make sure that he can try and bring back Matthias Rondel. Matthias Rondel in that black jersey of Tudor Pro Cycling. Man from Le Mans. Meanwhile, Lenny Martinez has opened up a little bit of a gap to Jonas Vingegaard, and he knows that he can try and take his advantage here. Into the patchy wet road. .29 seconds, 1:35 for Danny Martinez, of the 2026 season. Jonas Vingegaard looking to try and seal the deal for Visma Leasebike to make it a 3-peat for the Dutch World Tour squad. Matteo Jorgensen, winner of the last 2 editions of the Paris-Nice. Jonas Vingegaard looking to try and get his redemption from a year ago. Lenny Martinez, he's going to work with Jonas Vingegaard. It's in his best interest, because if the group comes back, Martinez is going to have a bit of a tough time of it against Kevin Vokela and Georg Stein and sprint for a stage victory. Also with Tejada too, and so for these 2 riders, it makes sense that they share this workload. 5 kilometers until they get to the final intermediate sprint. They'll crest and they'll go through Le Capin in Nice with 7.4 kilometers to go. 6 points on offer towards that green jersey competition. 6, 4 and 2 bonus seconds. In terms of the standings in that points classification, the jersey on the shoulders of Dorian Gordon. Meanwhile, Jonas Vingegaard, if he takes the 10 points, that will put him only 5 points behind Dorian Gordon, and then picking up points at the finish line here in Nice. He has the potential to take 3 jerseys in this edition of Paris-Nice. He's looking set.
ሰለስተ ማላክቶ ሲሪያ ትብለና ናጓል ታይተጎም ይወደይ ባባ አታክስ خدይ ከስስዑ ጃ ሰለስተ ማላ ሒዝ ኸይቲ አብዛ ሕጅና ይስድላ ባተወሲዱ እንደና ፋይናል እታ ትማል ድወፀ ተወድኸተ ሰለስቲያን ክሕዘኒ ማለት man this is so bad.
ERI-BISHA, a 25-year-old Frenchman racing for the wildcard invited squad. ERI-BISHA, who has had some really good. Performances across the last 7 stages. 11th place on stage 4, 16th place on stage 5. I'm from Lyon, sitting on the back of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. The fact that Alex Bourdais is here for EF Education Easy Post in that pink jersey of these riders in this group, because they know that he's going to commit for Georg Steinhauser. You can see they're rolling through, sharing the workload currently. They've got good cohesion. Steinhauser can almost breathe a sigh of relief, to be honest. The fact that he's got a teammate there. Jonas Gere, he's not going to come through. A bit of a long stare from Georg Steinhauser there. Just to say, what are you doing? Are you not going to contribute or what? Inside the final 10 kilometres. Stage 8 and Nice is calling. The final intermediate sprint is coming with 2.2 kilometres. It's Lenny Martinez and Jonas Vingegaard with a 35-second advantage over the chasers behind. Martinez, after a crash at the bottom of the Côte du Châteauneuf, is left chasing and looking to try and secure his second place in the general classification. It's a fast section of road here. The riders have got a tailwind into this section, and so it's really, really fast. It's going to get a little bit tricky with a couple of twists and turns, several hairpins once they go through the intermediate sprint. 3 hairpins, a left-hand turn at the roundabout. Then there'll be tracking the Loire River all the way down into Nice. "37 seconds now. It still continues to grow. All of the soigneurs and the press officers right outside the commentary box here, just being moved down. They're all trying to watch from the big screen to see what is going on. They're all being pushed down out of the way because they want to make sure that these riders have a clear run all the way to the finish line right outside the Allianz Stadium. Well, it's been a long, hard fight. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe are going to pick up a group of riders who have been dropped, including Victor Campenaerts, Jefferson Cepeda, Rudy Mollard, Ramses de Bruyne, and Nicola Prodom. They need to keep the pressure applied. Mathieu Vecher has benefited having followed the wheels of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. "500 meters to go until the intermediate sprint." Jonas Vingegaard has got the yellow jersey in the bag. However, I'm sure he won't say no to 10 points because at the moment he could go into a situation where he only trails Dorian Gordon by 5 points in the points classification, and with points available at the finish line here in Nice. Let's see if we can hear something. A little bit of discussion between Martinez and Vingegaard. It's a tricky situation for Martinez. He could do with the 6 bonus seconds, and you never know what might happen later on. If he can gain enough time to try and overthrow Kevin Vokela. Over the intermediate sprint, making that right-hand turn, Lenny Martinez takes the 10 points in the 6 bonus seconds. Jonas Vingegaard taking the 6 points and the 4 bonus seconds. They've got great cohesion here, haven't they? This is going to be one of the largest margins of victory in the general classification since 1953. It's always so close coming into the final at Paris-Nice. Meanwhile, Kevin Vokela looking for 2 bonus seconds ahead of Georg Steinhauser. He does it. He takes the 2 bonus seconds. That brings him down to 17 seconds from the general classification podium and 17 seconds in arrears in the white jersey competition to Georg Steinhauser. A question of what could have been for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, a situation that turned on its head. They didn't even have an opportunity to go on and fight for the stage victory. They've been on the back foot, they've been chasing. And right now it's all about saving a podium in the general classification. 5.9 kilometers to go for the leading duo. Tailwind for the riders. They're going to make a left-hand turn at the roundabout in 300 meters time. Well, there is the roundabout. They're going to make that left-hand turn. They'll track the Lavar River all the way down into Nice, past the San Ines Isidore, into a few little technical sections as they make their way towards the finish line. They're going to have a roundabout. There is the results quickly. 10 points to Lenny Martinez. In total, Jonas Vingegaard has picked up 30 seconds in bonuses. Lenny Martinez picking up 6 bonus seconds. Martinez looking really, really good, isn't he? On paper, you'd say Vingegaard in a head-to-head sprint. He's got the upper hand on Martinez. But coming into that final, the riders are going to make a left-hand turn at the roundabout with 1,300 meters to go, a right-hand turn at the roundabout with 900 meters to go. The next roundabout, they almost go sort of 10 past 2 at the roundabout with 500 meters to go, through the final left-hand bend with 300 meters to go, and then a straight run into the finish. Inside the final 4 kilometers, Martinez asks for a turn from Jonas Vingegaard as the gap comes down to 27 seconds to the chasers. Georg Steinhauser, Kevin Vogel, Jonas ERI-BISHA, Matthias Rondel, Alex Baudin, and Harold Tejada, whilst Danny Martinez is at 1:16. Team cars are being pulled out of the gap now. They've been pulled to the side. Bahrain Victorious and Visma Lisa Bike will slot in behind these chasers. What a ride this has been for Jonas Vingegaard. He wanted to take and get his revenge on Paris-Nice after what happened a year ago. A crash taking him out of the race, having to abandon. It was his teammate who went on to who took the overall victory, Matteo Jorgensen, his second victory at Paris-Nice. Right now, Jonas Vingegaard is looking for the overall victory, whilst Lenny Martinez is looking to add a second stage victory at Paris-Nice a year on. They go through 2 kilometers to go. Still they chase behind. It's a tailwind, and this is going to be difficult to try and catch these two out front. Martinez at 1 minute and 11 seconds. He should secure second place ahead of Georg Steinhauser. However, it's not over until they cross the line. Rondel looking for one of the best results of his career in the general classification at only 22 years of age. The rider in the black jersey has had an absolute blinder this week, as has Jonas ERI-BISHA for Cofidis. 1,600 meters to go. That left-hand turn is coming up at the roundabout with 1,300 meters remaining. They go into this little bit of narrowing. They'll cross over the bridge here as they make their way towards the next right-hand turn, which will come a few hundred meters later. There they go around that roundabout, make that left-hand turn. The next one comes inside the final kilometre, where they'll finish outside the Allianz Riviera, the stadium in all its glory, basking in the sun there, as now Lenny Martinez gets himself set. He tightens the shoes. He takes a look over, a shake of the head from Jonas Vingegaard, who doesn't want to ride here, and he doesn't want to cooperate with Lenny Martinez. With 1,000 meters remaining, they go under the kite, and still they chase behind. Rondell still wanted to try and take a place on the stage, whilst Lenny Martinez is looking to put an end to the drought of French winners on stage 8 of Paris-Nice. The last time a French rider won the final stage of Paris-Nice was back in 2014. Can he put that to right, or will he be denied by the yellow jersey that's on the shoulders of Jonas Vingegaard? Meanwhile, Kevin Vauquelin is asking everybody to come through, asking everybody to work, and Georg Steinhauser knows that he only has to follow Kevin Vauquelin to secure that white jersey and secure third place in the general classification. The last section of this course, the final turn will come with 300 meters remaining, and then it will be a battle for the stage victory. Now Lenny Martinez takes and that left-hand corner. Now he starts to accelerate. Now he starts to make a move. Jonas Vingegaard is left chasing. Lenny Martinez is looking to try and add a second Paris-Nice victory. Vingegaard comes close. They come head-to-head. Lenny Martinez, they do back-to-back French winners at Paris-Nice. He ends the drought. 12 years without a French winner on the final stage of Paris-Nice. And it's Martinez, barring victorious, who wins. Jonas Vingegaard, he had unfinished business with Paris-Nice. The race to the sun took him out of contention a year ago. And now Jonas Vingegaard wins the 84th edition of Paris-Nice. Visma Lease Bike make it a three-peat. And not in this century has there been this sort of gap in the general classification. The largest winning margin since 1953. Meanwhile, they sprint for the placings behind. What a stage. What a battle between Martinez and Vingegaard. As close as you like. Drama until the last moment. And Jonas Vingegaard wins the 84th edition of Paris-Nice. The race to the sun delivers. Bahrain victorious with their stage victory. Their man, Lenny Martinez, the 22-year-old, taking his 11th professional victory.
Avance pour Lenny Martinez, intrinsèquement, on a affaire à deux coureurs.
The Danish fans waving their flags. They see their man win the overall. But wow, look at this from Bahrain victorious. Delightful. Roman Kreuziger, Art Viertauten, the sports director. There are the staff members, so emotional. The man from Cannes has done it. Rod Ellingworth, the performance director there. That's exactly what Bahrain victorious needed, their third win of the season. Martinez wins stage 8. Danny Martinez has crossed the line. He's holding his ribs and he looks in all sorts of pain. He's on the floor. He's with two staff members of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Shake of the head, and he's absolutely spent. He's being helped to his feet. Well, there we have it. Lenny Martinez wins the 8th stage of Paris-Nice ahead of Jonas Vingegaard. Harold Tejada takes 3rd place in the end at 7 seconds. Kevin Vauquelin in 4th, Bourdin in 5th, Steinhauser in 6th. Jonas Aguirre,
Vous venez de le dire,
let's hear from the
elle est
stage
belle
winner.
celle-là, et j'imagine qu'elle vous fait vraiment plaisir.
I can imagine it's a real pleasure to win the last stage of
J'ai cherché
Paris-Nice.
cette victoire depuis le début de saison. Mais il a
It's
gagné
a
celle-là devant
victory,
Jonas et
beautiful victory
en faisant
this
un raid
season.
solitaire avec lui, c'est encore plus beau et je suis hyper content. Il y a mon papa et ma
Very
maman ici aussi, je les ai vus sur l'écran célébrer, donc je suis plus heureux.
Racontez-nous déjà ce dernier virage, ce sprint face au
The
maillot
last
jaune qu'il
corner,
a voulu
the last
aussi.
turn.
Ouais, il
started to
voulait plus
sprint.
passer. Je me suis dit, c'est dommage, mais bon, c'est le jeu et j'avais un peu peur et quand j'ai vu la ligne, j'ai dit il faut lancer et en lançant, je me suis dit c'est peut-être un peu loin et j'ai commencé à avoir une ombre un peu remontée, j'ai eu vraiment peur et j'ai pas lâché et ouais, je suis très content de gagner aujourd'hui.
Finissez Paris-Nice avec des jambes de feu. Quel bilan vous tirez de ce Paris-Nice, notamment en termes du général?
Ouais, un bilan bon. Au général, honnêtement, j'ai été tous les jours bien, j'ai pas eu trop de jours sans. Donc ça change de l'an dernier, je suis beaucoup plus régulier et puis voir que je peux gagner une étape à la fin, ça montre voilà, que je monte en niveau tout au long de la semaine.
ሞት ንዓንዩ ብሰላም ጀሚሩ ምውዱእ ጥራሕ እዩ ደገዲሰና ከም ገለ ዓይነት እየን ዜን 8 ስቴጅ ዳርጋ ንዑ ናቱ ስታይል ኣይኮናን ግን ክፍትንዎ ድዮም ገለ ኮይኑ ኤኒዌይ ድሓን ነቲ ዝዓበ ውራይ ጁላይ እዩ ጁላይ ከዓ በቃ ዝሓዝካ ሒዝካ ርክብ ንፍራንስ ክኸውን እዩ ሓንቲ ናይ ንኢንፎርሜሽን ከም ትኺድሚ ዓሚ ስታይ ድኾና ይኸይብል ሓንቲ ግሩፕ ክንፈጥር ኢና እሞ ሓበሬታኡ ስታይ ክንገብር ኢና ሰንበት ስለ ዝኾነ ስጋዕ ፖዲዮም ንርአዮ ተኸይብለና ምሽ ስለዚ በቃ ድሓን ቢኒ ዝኣኽሎ ገይሩ እዩ ናይቲ ማልዓወት ብጣዕሚ እዩ ንዓይ ሕጊስኒ ሕጂ መን ተቐጠልያን ኩለን መን ወስደን እዛ ቪንጌጋርሲ ኣብ ቶር ዲ ፍራንስ ንታት በጋቻ ከመይ በጋቸር ቻሌንጅ ትገብሮ ትኸውን ፅቡቕ ውድድር ንርኢ ኢለ ዝሓስብ ዘለኹ ስለዚ ካብ ብሕጂ ዋላ ሆቴልኩም ፍላይትኩም ሓዙ ኣጀኹም ክንብሎም ኢና ሄኖ እውን ሓደ ኢንተርቪው ከም ዝለኣኹለ ካብቶም 10 ተመዝገቡ ንቶር ዲ ፍራንስ ኣነ ኢሉ ኣሎ ኤማ ከዓ ትሬክ ተእትየሞ 3-4 ሓደ ከም ዓሙስ ፅቡቕ ኣይኮነን ኣጀና ንበሎም ኣብ ዘሎ ኣብ ትፃወትዎ ከይድኩም ያላ ፎርሳ ቲፎዞ ኣብ ክንከም ቀደምኩም ማለት እዩ እሞ በቃ ተን ፖዲዮም ርኢና ስታይ ንገብር ማለት እዩ እሞ ኣብዚ ዘለኹም ሰላምን ጥዕና እናተመነኹ ሓውኩም ጥዕሚ ምሳኹም ዘለኹ ኣብ ቀፃሊ ማለት እዩ ኣይ ዓፅዋኔ ርኢና እቲ ማልያ ክስታይ ፖዲዮም ዝተወደ ሸው ዓፅዋ
Et on va tout de suite rejoindre la zone protocolaire où nous attend déjà notre ami Marc Chamet. Marc, c'est à vous.
Merci beaucoup Damien, vous allez bien me retrouver.